Let me ask you about Canada, which is our second largest trading partner. The president increased tariffs to 35%. It applies, though, to just about 10% of what Canada sells here. Why impose this now, in the middle of negotiations? So I would say, first of all, Canada is already subject to 50% tariffs on steel and aluminum, 25% tariffs on autos, and now the 35% tariff on goods that don't comply with USMCA rules. Earlier on, the president imposed a 25% tariff on Canada, and that was really about fentanyl and border issues. It's a separate regime from the reciprocal tariffs. And what did Canada do in response? Well, they talked about helping at the border, and I'm not saying anything about the drugs directly. But what I do know, as the trade guy, is that Canada retaliated. The only other country in the world that retaliated on tariffs was China. So if the president takes action and the Canadians retaliate, the United States has to maintain the integrity and effectiveness of that action. That's why we had to go higher. You heard Ambassador Greer say Canada retaliated in response to the initial tariffs, all the way back in April, when Prime Minister Trudeau was still in office. Now you're paying the price, even though there's a new government in place. If that's the case, why not just make that concession and pull back? Well, Prime Minister Carney, our new Prime Minister, has, we believe, built a very businesslike and respectful relationship with President Trump. We think that's important for Canada and for the United States. Take, for example, the steel sector in Canada. It's of strategic importance to our national security, just as it is for President Trump and the American economy. We now have a situation where there's a 50% tariff. We are the biggest steel export market for the United States. And now we face a 25% tariff and sometimes even 50%. When we try to sell into the U.S. effectively, we're being blocked from doing that. But Canada's national security requires us to maintain a viable steel and aluminum sector. In my conversations with Secretary Lutnick and others, I've highlighted how Canada already has the strictest rules in the world on Chinese steel dumping, stricter than any other country. We have melt and pour tracing to ensure Chinese steel isn't entering Canada through third-party countries. So we're looking at and advancing ideas that allow us to work with the United States while still protecting key sectors vital to Canada's economic future. That doesn't contradict President Trump's national security goals. Of course, you're referring to measures that were originally put in place by former Prime Minister Trudeau, not the current one, but they're still in place. Yes, they're still in place, but the current Prime Minister has largely held off on retaliation. That's the person you're now negotiating with, him and his team. So what's the strategy here? Aren't you concerned that this will hurt the broader free trade deal if you really want to renegotiate it next year? Well, the president's view, whether it's Canada or Mexico, regardless of what trade agreements we have, is that the net result of the current system, whether through WTO or our existing trade deals, has been a significant loss of manufacturing to overseas markets. And when that's the result, we can't continue with the same system. So no, I'm not concerned it will complicate things with Canada. Our view is the president is trying to fix the terms of trade with Canada. If there's a way to reach a deal, we'll find it. If not, the tariffs will remain where they are. So I hear you drawing a distinction when you say, I'm the trade guy, I'm not the drugs czar. This was today's important update. We want to make it absolutely clear that our videos never include any kind of misinformation. Canadian Nexus is dedicated to bringing you verified and trustworthy news from across Canada, from politics to society and everything in between. If you value truth and facts, you're in the right place. If you enjoyed the video, please like, share your thoughts.